Warning. In addition to the regular strong language, this episode carries content warnings for reclaimed gay slurs, a non-graphic depiction and subsequent discussion of non-consensual sex, depictions of consensual violence, and discussions of attempted suicide, medical trauma, experiences of psych wards, descriptions of psychosis, forcible medication, restraint, experiences of homelessness, alcoholism, and body horror. The non-consensual sex and the consensual violence are both depicted in the reading, which is 24 minutes long, and there is some further discussion of the events from the reading following it. Perhaps even more so than usual, listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Tales from the Trunk, a podcast about all of your favorite trunked stories. I'm your host,
hello.
Ivy Fox. With me today is Hillary.
Hello, this is Hillary B. Bisnieks. I am here today with Ivy Fox. Hello. Welcome to Tales from the Trunk.
This is your podcast. This is your Sorry, I'm so used to being the host, that it just happened. I've got a very specific hello that just, it just jumps out of me.
Yeah, no, I get it. I 100% get it. Hello, listeners. You'll have just heard some things.
Hey, bitches.
It is my pleasure, my absolute gremlin-ass pleasure to welcome you to probably the most 5-star runtime of 5-star runtime episodes possible with Ivy Fox. Ivy, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Some context. Wow, Jesus Christ. I've run some podcasts before. You may have noticed this. I currently run a podcast where we talk about trashy gotcha anime women design.
It's such a fucking good podcast.
Did you listen to it?
Yes, I did. Of course, I wouldn't give it a 5-star without listening to it. I mean, I would give it a 5-star, then listen to it, but...
Incredible. You don't even play this game, I don't think.
No, I don't. Anyway. I don't even go here, but I like hearing people be gremlins.
Me and my friend Ash, who do that podcast, we can legitimately talk... Hi, Ash, if you're listening. We can legitimately talk for 2 hours and 45 minutes about 3 pictures of an anime woman. Mm-hmm. And I listened to 2 episodes of this podcast. They were very good, but they were only an hour long. And I'm like, I can't talk for just an hour. I can't talk for just an hour about my own art that I have lots of stupid opinions about because I'm pretentious. Come on, cut me some slack.
That's because you didn't listen to, I think, basically any episode I've ever done with Sarah Gailey, or...
You did mention Sarah Gailey, I think, 5 times in each episode.
Listen, they're the patron saint of this podcast, and I will mention them every single episode. Hi, Sarah. Also, Friends at the Table.
Uh-huh. No, I'm familiar with Friends at the Table. I think I just scrolled down your podcast homepage, and I just grabbed 2... that through context clues looked like they featured 2 queer people. And I was like, great. Fantastic.
Yep. I mean, just reach into the bag, grab something, it'll probably be featuring 2 queer people.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to queers. Hey,
am
I allowed to say the word dyke? If I'm not
Yes.
allowed to say the word dyke, that might be rough for me. Okay, great.
No, you're allowed to say dyke, faggot, tranny, we say words on this show.
Great. I don't know how comfortable I am saying that last word, but I do say dyke and fag about 17 times per day on average. So
no
this
worries.
is helpful for me. This is my accessibility need.
I will probably not say tranny again on this episode unless it becomes contextually relevant. But
which it might.
Listen.
I will say, okay, once we're done, I mean, we can just keep doing this forever, honestly. I'm totally fine to just preamble for an hour, and then we can get into the amble. I'm all good with that. But I will say, it probably won't be your podcast with the most content warnings. It might be your podcast with some of the heaviest content warnings.
Yes. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I think so. Listeners, you'll have already heard a lot of content warnings, probably. So just, strap in. Be ready. Take care of yourselves.
Was that
We love you.
I think you accidentally made a pun.
Yes, no, I did not.
Okay, great.
I did not think about that, but that's a great segue. I'm so good at podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, just before that, I would like to clarify that, before we even talk about the piece, I would like to clarify that this, and I want to do this in my own words because it's complicated. This is a piece that is about I think the phrase I had in my head before doing this was complex non-consensual sex. It is not a piece about non-consensual sex as any active bit of violence against a person. It's about something that, in my opinion, is sometimes much harder, which is it is about non-consensual sex almost by accident. And I know that specific thing, great. I'm already, just by describing it, I'm already feeling slightly triggered, which is great. But, I know that specific thing can be really hard for people. And if that's really hard for you, maybe this is a mess. Nah, it's fine. If that's really hard for you, I think you might like this play. But, fair warning. It's, yeah.
We should say it is not in any way graphic.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's violence.
Okay.
There is no. It's not sexually graphic. Yeah.
Yeah. There is consensual violence.
There's consensual violence. There's a brief description of non-consensual sex.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the thing?
What is the thing? We're talking about Strapped today. Hence the thing earlier. And this is a play that you wrote some amount of time ago.
I think almost 5 years.
Holy shit, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was just pre-pandemic. It was I wrote it for the last Fringe festival. That's a Toronto thing.
I love Toronto Fringe.
Great. I wrote it for the... Yeah, you would love it more if they accepted my play.
I would.
They didn't, so, more like Cringe Festival. But, yeah, I wrote this for the last Fringe before the pandemic, I think. I think that tracks.
That sounds right.
It is a play. We're going to read the whole play. The runtime was... The stage runtime is theoretically supposed to be about 40 minutes. But I think with a reading, we can we'll get through it in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we say more before, or do we wait until after?
I think it stands on its own.
Great. Fantastic.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, it's a two-person play. We will each be playing a person. Here's the whole play.
Here is the whole play.
All right. Sorry, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
Keep that in. Opening scene. A butch woman, Jill, lays sleeping sprawled across a bed, wearing nothing but a pair of gym shorts and an unfilled strap-on harness. There is a liquor cabinet filled with booze and glasses, and a bedside table with a phone and a folded letter on it. She wakes up and is clearly confused, but not alarmed, by the absence of someone next to her in the bed. Sitting up, she notices the lack of anything at her crotch, which she is much more distressed by. Eventually, she notices the letter on the bedstand and slowly opens it and reads it. Freeze. Classy music. Lights fade and go on at a separate part of the stage. The dream scene. There is a table for two, set nicely, with a chair across from a tall stool. The waiter walks on and produces a reasonably sized strap-on dildo, parentheses, Jack, setting it on the stool facing the table. They take out a miniature fitted tuxedo, slide it onto Jack, bow, and exit. Note, all dream scenes are in pantomime. Lights down, music ends, lights up on bedroom. Jill is getting dressed, pulling on a binder, a pair of slacks, and a button-up shirt. Once dressed, she picks up the phone and dials a number. Hey, John. Jody's gone. No, she's not fucking dead. She left me. No, like, actually, in the fucking dead of the morning. Right? Like a fucking movie. Jesus. She left a fucking handwritten note. And she left with Jack. Yes, that Jack. Don't fucking laugh. This is serious. You know what? Never mind. Thanks. My fucking girlfriend left me with my own fucking... Fuck, dude. I don't even know. I don't know. What are you up to today? You want to come over? I don't fucking know. Don't people usually want company when this shit happens? Yeah. Cool. See you soon. Thanks. Jill puts her head in her hands. Freeze. Classy music. Lights fade and go on at the dream scene. A formally dressed femme woman walks on and greets the dildo enthusiastically. She sits down across from it and freezes. Music ends. Lights up on bedroom. A femme man, John, enters. Jill doesn't notice him, absorbed in her own thoughts.
Hi?
Oh, hey.
How are you holding up?
Jill shrugs.
Okay, what exactly happened?
Dude, fuck if I know. There's the note. I don't know. John picks up the note and starts reading from it.
Jill.
Oh my god.
I'm leaving you, and this time for good. She's so dramatic. All the love has left our relationship, replaced by your obsessive, cloying care. I feel like there's no room for me to move, no room to do anything without you always trying to do it for me, no room to feel without you always trying to make me feel better, no room to try new things without you always trying to keep me safe, and no room to care for you. I miss holding you against me while you cried, making you dinner when you got home after a long day, hearing you talk about how you're feeling. Now you just get pissy with me, insisting that you can take care of yourself. Well, there you go, asshole. Take care of yourself as much as you want. I'm taking Jack with me, as he's the only part of you that seems to appreciate me anymore. Maybe without him, you'll learn to be less of a fucking chauvinist.
Oh my god.
She's using chauvinist wrong.
What?
Chauvinist means, like, patriotic. What she's trying to say is that you're a misogynist.
Thanks, John.
Anyway, dude, I'm really sorry. That's harsh.
Thanks.
I mean, if anyone's going to leave melodramatically at the crack of dawn, it's definitely Jody. That is so her.
I'm never dating another theater artist for the rest of my fucking life.
But eloping with your dick? That is some next level stuff right there. That's on an entirely new level of drama. It's kind of amazing.
Can you imagine getting cocked by your own cock, outmanned by your own manhood, outgunned by your own gunman, outdueled by your own date?
Please stop saying incredibly gross things. I get it.
Sorry. Anyway, point is, fuck.
Anyway, like I said, sorry. This sucks.
Right? Ugh.
What are you gonna do?
I don't know. How should I know?
Do you think she still loves you?
What kind of question is that? Do you think she still loves me?
I mean, you two were really close.
No shit. I mean, she's been upset with me for a while. We haven't been fighting, but I knew.
So why didn't you talk to her about it? Aren't you miscommunication? Isn't that, like, your thing?
I know. I don't know. God, she's probably sitting in some fancy restaurant with Jack, having some romantic fucking dinner date.
Dinner date? With Jack? What?
But she's definitely not in love with him. She doesn't like men.
Is Jack a man?
It's a dick with nothing else attached. What else?
Wow, incredibly rude. I mean, you're not wrong, but how dare you say that to my face?
Do you want a drink?
Jill, it's not even noon yet.
It's 10 minutes to noon.
That wasn't really my point.
My girlfriend just left me.
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
John goes over to the liquor cabinet and opens it. Freeze. Lights down. Lights up on the dream scene. Classy music. Jody is having an animated conversation with Jack. The waiter brings out 2 glasses of wine, and Jody continues her lovely little conversation, laughing and sipping her wine. Eventually, freeze. Lights down, music ends. Lights up on the bedroom. John and Jill are sitting on the bed, drinking wine. John is looking at the letter.
You know, she's kind of got a point.
What?
I mean, look, I've known you for a very long time, and recently you've been a little shut off.
What? How so?
You haven't even told me how you feel today. Like, put an actual word to the emotion in your body.
Yes, I have.
Okay, remind me. How do you feel?
I'm upset. I'm upset that my girlfriend left me for a dildo.
But upset isn't really an emotion. It's a category. Are you angry? Are you sad? Frustrated? Are you in shock?
I don't know. How am I supposed to feel?
How are you supposed to feel?
Jill shrugs.
Well, hang on. Let me just get out my mood ring and slip it on you.
You know what? Please do.
You really do get pissy when people try to help you.
That is so not true. 2 weeks ago, I let you buy me a drink at that show with, like, the improv singing thing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot that I should be basking in the glowing generosity of graciously allowing me to buy you a drink at the show with the improv singing thing. How could I ever forget?
Fuck you.
What's gotten into you lately?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We used to hang out and just talk about everything, watch bad TV and open up about stuff all the time. But I haven't seen you for more than 15 minutes in months.
I've been busy.
But you didn't even want to?
I'm sorry.
And you call me at 10 in the morning and I still show up.
I know. I'm sorry, okay?
I love you, Jill. I want to be there for you.
Well, I don't need you all to coddle me. I'm not a baby.
Well, then why did you call me?
I'm sorry, okay?
We're not trying to treat you like a baby, okay? We're just trying to care for you like we always have.
Why are you taking her side?
I'm not. I'm taking the side of my best friend deserves emotional care.
Well, maybe I haven't needed emotional care. Maybe I've been fine.
And are you fine now?
I don't know. My girlfriend just left me, so I guess not.
You guess not. What happened to your whole thing about being the emotionally available stone butch?
Well, maybe I haven't been fine. And maybe that's fine. Maybe I don't have to tell everyone everything that happens to me. And maybe fucking Jody shouldn't hang that over my head.
Did something happen?
Whatever.
Jill.
Forget it. It's not important.
Well, obviously it's important if it made you change your character enough that your girlfriend leaves you for a silicone cock.
Forget it.
Jill, what happened?
I said, freeze. Lights down. Classy music. Lights up on dream scene. Jody has several empty wine glasses in front of her, and is much more relaxed, sprawled across the table, giggling and chatting. The dildo still has a full glass of wine in front of it. Eventually, freeze. Lights up on the bedroom. Jill is standing, leaning against the cabinet. John is standing behind her.
Is it that you blew all your savings on gambling and feel tremendous guilt?
Oh my god.
Is it that you're sleeping with Jody's ex?
Okay, stop. Enough.
Did I get it?
No!
That's a point I hadn't considered. Didn't you stop dating other people a few months ago?
So what?
Is Jody dating one of your exes?
No!
So you stop seeing other women, while she still is, and you start trying to do everything in the relationship without letting her in.
Can you not fucking psychoanalyze my relationship with Jody? You barely even know her.
What? I introduced you to!
You had met her for 5 minutes at some university thing, and you introduced us because you thought I would think she was hot.
Well, I wasn't wrong.
No, you weren't wrong. She's very hot.
I hung out with you two plenty of times once you started dating. I know Jody plenty well.
You knew slices of her.
What do you mean?
She was always good at making people like her. She's clever. She would, say exactly what you wanted to hear without lying, and you would love her.
In contrast to you, who just blurts out whatever you're thinking.
Jill shrugs.
Was she different alone?
Obviously.
How?
She was... I don't know. She was great, okay? She was super fucking lovely. She's like this evil mastermind of nice shit. Always, planning surprise parties and sending people these big care packages. And she was a fucking brilliant artist working so hard. And she was always so fucking sweet to me. And she was always so fucking proud of me for being so fucking strong and honest or whatever.
Jill.
And then I fucked it up, okay? I fucking stopped talking to her, and I stopped letting her do shit, and the only time we were really close anymore was during sex. And then she left me for a dick because I fucking deserve it. Is that what you wanted to hear?
No! It's not. I don't agree with that. But if something happened that made it get this bad, I want to know what it is.
Why?
Because I care about you!
So what?
Is it something I did?
No.
Something Jody did?
No.
Did someone else you were dating?
No! It's because... Freeze. Lights down. Lights up on dream scene. Classy music. Jody and the dildo are facing out towards the audience, intent as if listening to something. The music ends, and Jody applauds. A new song comes on, a slow dance number. Jody rises elegantly and offers the dildo her hand. Freeze. Lights down on dream sequence. Music ends. Lights up on bedroom. John is sitting on the bed with his head in his hands. Jill stands with fists clenched. Silence.
I'm so sorry. Fuck. What happened? I mean, you don't have to tell me if you don't.
It was a woman at a party. I was drunk, and so was she, and we were fooling around, and she just pushed me down and started, and I should have done something, but I just froze, and...
Is that why you stopped seeing other people?
Whatever.
Did you tell...
I said whatever, okay? I shouldn't have... I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't even matter.
Jill, of course it matters.
No, it doesn't. Do you know how often this shit happens? How many people I know who... How many kids I know getting kicked out of their houses? How many people I know in the fucking hospital? Or how much awful shit happens to us? At least I can fucking take it.
Jill, that doesn't mean that...
It's not even what I'm upset about.
Then what are you upset about?
I'm upset because I'm angry.
You're upset because you're angry.
Yes.
Sweetheart, you're allowed to be angry.
No, I'm not. I'm allowed to be upset. But I'm not upset. I'm angry. I'm violently angry. I want to scream and break shit all the fucking time. How can I deal with you and Jody being so fucking sweet to me when I just want to fucking...
Do you want to hurt her?
Jody? No, what the fuck, John? What the fuck?
No, the woman.
No! I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to be the fucking angry bulldyke who's fucking yelling all the time and throwing dishes at her partner and shit. I just fucking... Jill systematically grabs 4 glasses out of the liquor cabinet and hurls them off the stage. Crash, 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 crash. But I guess I just fucking am.
Did that make you feel better?
No. Now I just need a new fucking tumbler set.
I'm sorry.
Are you still going to IKEA soon?
What? No, I just went a couple of days ago.
Fuck.
Sorry.
It's fine. Long silence. Eventually, John stands up.
Hit me.
What?
Hit me.
Why?
I don't know. You said you didn't want to talk. Maybe it'll help.
What is this, fucking Fight Club? I literally just said, I don't want to hurt anyone.
Oh, come on. You've seen me get consensually punched in the face before.
That is true. Twice, actually.
Yeah, so...
Huh.
Well?
I'm thinking about it, okay?
Okay.
Are you gonna hit me back?
If you want me to.
We should have a safe word.
That seems smart. What should it be?
Armageddon.
Like the Nicolas Cage movie?
I don't know. It was Jess's safe word.
That is a very Jess safe word.
All right. Let's go.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
The two of them... The two of them start unbuttoning and rolling down their sleeves, rolling up their pant legs, etc.
I'm sorry for going so hard on you earlier. It was just frustrated you weren't talking to me anymore.
No, it's okay. Thanks for pushing me. I needed it. Promise that you won't go easy on me.
Of course, I promise.
I just don't want to be treated like a maid of tissue paper. I feel so easily broken, and I want to be stronger than that.
Yeah, I get you.
The two finish prepping and square off against each other. I love you.
I love you too.
Fucking stupid play. Jill punches John across the face. The two smile and laugh at each other before tackling and falling, grappling and hitting onto the bed. Freeze. Lights down on bedroom. Lights up on dream scene. Classy, slow dance music. It's almost time for my favorite stage direction. Jody is dancing expertly, learned and elegantly, holding Jack as her partner. Eventually, after a very impressive dance sequence, the director will figure it out, the music ends. Jody holds Jack lovingly to her chest. Freeze. Lights up on main stage. Jill and John are pummeling each other on the bed. John on top. Armageddon! Armageddon!
Shit, are you okay?
I can't breathe. John gets off quickly. Jill sits up, hastily unbuttons her shirt, and tears off her binder, breathing deeply. Oh god, fuck.
Are you okay?
Yeah. You want a drink?
Oh, sure.
John gets up and pours them both drinks. He looks back at Jill and considers her.
Do you want any ice?
No, straight up.
I meant, like, for your face.
What? Oh, no, thanks.
Yeah, we should probably clean the glass out of the kitchen before going in there.
Oh, fuck, right. Sorry.
It's all good.
John sits down next to Jill, passes her a drink, and they put their free arm around each other. Did we just invent gay Fight Club?
Fight Club is already pretty gay, dude.
That's what I've heard.
Have you never seen Fight Club?
Nope.
Huh. Life imitates art.
Should we watch it?
It does seem topical.
Let's do it, but in a bit. For now, let's just...
Yeah.
The two hold each other, drinking quietly. Jill breaks out laughing, and then breaks down crying into John's shoulder. Lights down on the bedroom. Lights up on dream scene. Jody sits on a chair holding Jack tenderly against her. She whispers something to him, giggles shyly, and they walk off stage. Lights down. Finn. Woo!
Oh!
I haven't heard that, performed since I, did a test read of it with my director, 5 years ago.
Oh, that was, I think, even more fun to do this read of than just when I read it before we recorded.
Uh-huh. It's almost like it's a play and it's written to be performed.
Yeah. Weird how that works.
Weird how that works, right? Really
That's wild.
Yeah, that's so damn, that's wild.
It's like, I don't know, when people say, oh, you have to read poetry out loud, and I'm like, no, when I read slowly and I hear the words in my head as I read over them, and then I read a poem out loud and I'm like, oh, fuck, they were right.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's also it's a two-person performance. There's that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you for having
Thank
me.
you.
I'm blessed, but in general, but like that was great. I've reread this play a bunch of times throughout the years, and it really just like there are a bunch of things. There are some, especially at the beginning of the play, but maybe that's okay. We can get into it. There are some things. There's some dialogue that is a little awkward. I think mostly where I was trying to be funny. But, you know, I'm proud that it really does sing when performed with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, that, I don't know. Dialogue, I tend to write very snappy dialogue. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. Like, you know, the sort of, as much as, like, fuck Joss Whedon, actually trash man, like, I grew up on, you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Firefly and all that shit, and, like, that sort of, like, just back and forth shit is just, like, fucking catnip to me. But it's also, like, genuinely hard to write it convincingly.
Yeah, it is a play with like 2 monologues, and most lines of dialogue are approximately 4 words.
Yeah.
Which I think is a strength and a weakness.
Yeah. Yeah, and definitely a thing where, like, it's meant to be performed. It is a play, it is a performance piece. It is not, like, it does not have that same impact just on the page. So I have talked to a lot of people who have done a variety of creative things on this show in the past, but I don't think I've ever talked to somebody who has done playwriting before. Can you talk a little bit just about how, because I know that you write things that are not plays as well, how that sort of, if that's different in your mind, in your creative process?
Yeah, so I write and have written a lot of different kinds of stuff, including radio dramas and weird performance art that is not specifically categorizable, and like storytelling designed to be written out loud, and just like prose that sits on the page and then you look at it and you read it.
As prose generally works.
And a lot of, I would say that the main difference between, but I have done playwriting in the past. Specifically, I used to do theater for work. Not super traditional theater. I used to work in a program that used theater, a mix of like written plays and improv, to do sensitivity training. I did this for like 4 or 5 years.
Incredible.
The person who was supposed to direct this play was my director in that program. And then we both quit, and we were like, let's maybe do some theater together. And then Fringe Festival, or like Cringe Festival, etc.
Yeah.
I
thought you were going to say that you did live action roleplay stuff, which, like, I would be very excited to talk about, but this is also fascinating.
I would do live action roleplay if someone invited me onto their show. I would do most things. I just like doing things.
Mood.
Recently, several of my friends who might be listening to this, hello friends, we've been discussing what we all like to refer to as the Ivy method, in which you sort of just go and do things. You come up with an idea for a thing that you want to do, and you just sort of, or you're proposed a thing, and then you're just like, yeah, I'll just go do that, and then you go do it.
Sure, yeah.
And this may seem obvious to some people, but, I hang out with a lot of disabled people, and it's complicated. And I'm like, yeah, I think you can still go do things even if you're disabled. You just need to be accommodated. What were we talking about? We were talking about writing. Anyway, this is part of my plan to make this podcast episode really long, is to just have little stalling diatribes, just to really fuck up your editing job. Anyway.
Joke's on you. I'm going to put all of this in.
Oh, great.
Just going to post the raw audio.
Have fun re-listening to it. Right, writing. How is writing plays different from writing prose? I think it changes who your primary relationship is with. In that, in a play, when you're writing a play, you are... An audience will see this play, hypothetically.
Right.
If anyone is listening who can make plays happen and they really liked that, I also want to rewrite parts of this play, which we should talk about. But if anyone knows how to make plays happen and they really liked that, give me a call. Because I would love to untrunk this. I genuinely love this play, with a little bit of tweaking and rewriting. But like, when I'm doing like, let's take the most direct example, which is like, I have like a solo fiction podcast, which is basically writing a play. But it's like, I'm both the actor and the director. In that, I am only thinking about the user experience. Because I know that I will be reading it, and I will be directing my own voice, which is very hard. We can talk about that if you like. I am sort of skipping those steps, because I know how I act, and I know how I direct, and I'm thinking directly about, like, how comprehensible is this to the listener, or to the listener. However, if I'm writing a play that is like a play-ass play that has like a real director who isn't me,
and like staging and shit,
I don't even really need to make... Especially if I know, as was the case with this play, like this was written for this particular project, and with a particular director. And so I knew that I would be on the entire time available for rewrites, right? And so I don't even really need to make the dialogue fully comprehensible to the audience, you know? Because if it doesn't work, we can just rewrite it during production, and it will make zero difference to the end user experience. But my director needs to understand my intent and also, like, have enough to work with. For example, you may have noticed at the beginning of the last scene, I made some sort of and uhs. Those in the script are just Jill, ... What happened? Jill, ... And that's nothing, you know? And I could have marked this, I could have marked those with stage directions of, like, Jill says nothing, Jill says nothing. But that's not my intent there, because that's what the audience might end up experiencing that, but my intent there is to communicate to the director, in this moment, it is my intention for Jill to be intentionally... to be not responding as an action that Jill is taking, that is dialogue.
I got it, because I read it as, like, a fucking JRPG-ass ... dialogue.
It is a little bit JRPG. But again, like, you know, maybe that ends up in the subtitles, if, you know, you ever have a subtitled play, which you have less than you should. But, like, that's... I don't know or care how the audience will end up experiencing that moment. I only care about my director and I only a little bit care about my actors. Because they're also not my job. The director, they're the
director's job.
Yeah, and so that to me is the main difference when I'm writing a play versus, or like a play production versus anything else, is that I do not know what this will look like to the audience. I'm not thinking of myself from the audience. I'm thinking of what does the director need to think of herself from the audience.
Right.
I think there's even still a couple of director notes like in this document. They're very small, but it's cute. Every time I see them, I'm like, oh yeah. On the waiter takes out Jack the dildo. My director has a note here that says, "From where? A serving cart? Question mark? Tray? Question mark? What about one of the baskets that carry hot towels?" This is collaborative art, baby. I love collaborative art. I love the idea of Jack being like nestled. We should talk about strap-ons. Strap-ons are very important. I love the idea of Jack being sort of like nestled in this little kind of like luxury sort of serving cart of hot towels. That sounds lovely for him. I hope he enjoys it.
Yeah, no, that sounds ideal.
It's the comfort of our star actor, who is the dildo who ends up playing Jack, is very important to me in this production. That was going to be a note if it ever got made, which it can if you email me.
Yeah. Listeners, if you have the power, please make this happen.
I'm just saying. It's the Ivy method. You can just make it happen.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I have a lot of cis hetero friends who have babies. Hello, cis hetero friends, if you're listening.
Hi, babies.
Hi, babies. What's up, you cool baby?
You're too young. The thing that I know about you is because of all the content warnings on this episode about non-consensual fucking. You're not children. You must be babies. So hi, babies.
But a thing that I've learned exists from having friends who have babies is that they have baby wipe warmers. That you stick like a pack of baby wipes in, and then it warms them up. Why don't they have lube warmers and dildo warmers?
This is so true. I mean, the thing is that, like, assuming that you're using, like, a proper silicone piece, which you should, like, come on. Right, I know it can be expensive, but, like, treat yourself. Don't get some jelly bullshit. Come on.
Please, treat your body right.
Treat your body right. And treat the parts of your body that are made of silicone right. Give it a nice boil, disinfect it, and then it's nice and warm. And it's nice.
That's true.
This doesn't even need to be for, like, intimate purposes. You can just kind of, like, lie with it, like, on you or next to you, and it's nice. I think silicone has a really nice, sort of rich, hearty smell when it's boiled. That's kind of like the smell of opening a pack of Magic the Gathering cards, but a little sort of bassier and heartier, you know? And it's really nice, IMO.
Fuck. I had not... It's been a fucking grip since I've opened a pack of Magic cards. But yeah, yep. Yep.
It's the smell of freshly boiled silicone, but a little sharper. Freshly boiled silicone's a little bassier. It has those sort of richer notes, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's when we're recording this, it is still early March, which is, I think, soup season in most of the Northern Hemisphere. I'm just imagining, you know, when you walk into your friend's house and it smells like soup? That, but dildo soup.
Yeah. The rich, hearty aroma of disinfecting. I do put a little bit of salt in there, I will say. It genuinely helps it disinfect more, but also I mean, first of all, also the water boils faster, but also it
Right,
adds
yeah.
a little bit of flavor. You know, you ever watch Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat? I don't remember her name, but she would approve of this.
Oh yeah. I cannot remember her. She is friends with my old boss.
Huh.
And my old boss's wife was doing the co-working thing with her where she was working on her dissertation and the author of Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat was working on that book at the same time. So that is I was not expecting for that to come up.
I
Old
would
boss,
listen
if
to an
you're listening
episode-
to this, please... I'm not comfortable with any of that.
I would listen to an episode with her on it. That sounds great. She's great.
If
She
there
wrote a
were a
book.
way that I could non-awkwardly make that happen, that sounds tremendous.
You can just do it awkwardly. It's okay.
That's true. That's true.
You don't have to be perfect, Hillary.
This is a place where I have to remember my own tagline. Don't self-reject.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I get like fucking Chuck Tingle on the show is by saying, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna see if I can talk to Chuck Tingle about his new book. And I did, and it was great.
And then you did.
And then I did.
Should we talk about the play, finally?
Yeah. So something I was gonna say that your the way that you're talking about that you're writing this for a director is really interesting to me. The parallels between that and like if you're writing for like if you get commissioned to write something, like I was asked to please write an essay for Sarah Gailey's Stone Soup for their Personal Canons cookbook series last year. And, like I pitched this idea to Sarah and they were like, please write that for me. I want it. And then it sort of went through like a number of rounds of like the essay that I sent to them initially has the same bones as the one that is available to read right now. Links in the show notes as always, dear listeners. But there was so much refining that happened between that initial draft that I sent them and what finally got published in a very collaborative way where they were, as the editor, were saying, can we... This feels like it doesn't quite fit with everything. Can we drill down? This is the theme I'm seeing. Can we drill down on that a bit more? And so the idea of like working with a director in that same way is really interesting.
Can I go
Or
to
in a
the bathroom?
similar way.
I'm going to go to the bathroom before I answer this.
Do it.
I don't mean to hurt the momentum. I just really need to pee.
Yep.
We can keep that in. Ramen break.
Ramen break. Fucking love to eat some ramen.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Are you a are you a Canadian who eats KD?
Not really, but
Okay.
mostly because I don't like keeping milk in the house.
Okay,
Because it
that's
makes me
fair.
anxious.
I was just gonna say if you ever get the fancy ramen that has the chili sauce packets in it, those chili sauce packets fucking rip in macaroni and cheese.
I get like mid-tier ramen. I get like the best ramen that's at the normal grocery store.
Right.
I get a lot of sort of kimchi ramen that has a little bit of kimchi.
Oh, nice.
This lets me think that there's vegetables in it. I've been doing breakfast ramen for a while now.
All right.
It's a very solid decent ramen is a good breakfast choice.
Yeah, no, it's got a lot of stuff in it, and then if you're the type of person who cracks an egg into your ramen, it makes it even more breakfast, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
unfortunately,
really eat eggs.
I'm too depressed right now to do that. But yes, in theory,
Valid.
you can also get those extremely wasteful because there's so much plastic little seaweed packets.
Oh,
and throws
yeah.
a little bit of extra seaweed in there that also like convincingly looks like vegetables.
Mm-hmm. And tastes like salt.
Delicious, delicious. What was the question?
So we were talking about Strapped.
Yeah, you said something about directing. You said you talking about writing to the director
yes.
me of writing this essay for my friend's book, and then I don't remember what the question you ended on was.
I'm not sure I had a question. I think I was just making a relatable statement, possibly. I don't know.
So
that
true.
was 2 minutes ago. I don't have memory.
That's okay. I love making collaborative art. Making non-collaborative art stresses me out a lot. I mean, making collaborative art is also stressful. Because you have to deal with people. And I love working with people. I love working with people. I'd for like normal work or whatever. I'm a personal support worker. And I have been since I was 18. And I love community stuff. And I love making stuff with people. And I kind of hate making stuff alone, which is why I never shut up about it, because then I can feel like I'm making it with other people and not just be like trapped in my own tiny, stressful bubble, my own stupid little one-woman show fucking bullshit little zone. It's suffering.
That's why co-working is amazing. Like, you don't have to be doing the same thing as anybody else, but the act of, like, working on your thing while somebody else is working on their thing, and you're doing the thing together, you're making community.
Love to make community. Me and a mutual friend of ours do co-working, during which I have been starting, like, a whole new project.
Hell yeah.
This person will probably never actually read anything from this project because it's not really oriented towards her, which is fine. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
You can read it if you want, obviously. But he knows a lot about it because I'm just like, I just don't shut up while I'm writing, because if I do, I will die. I spend 30 minutes with my headphones on listening to Machine Girl, and then I'm like, let me tell you about this funny thing I just wrote. And then Hannah's like, and then I'm like, what are you doing? And Hannah's like, data entry. And I'm like, well, I'm glad to be here for you.
Yep. Yep. So I did have a segue, and it's about the Mad Bird. The Mad Bird is your podcast.
The Mad Bird is one of my podcasts.
One of your podcasts. It is not the podcast where you talk with Ash about 3 pictures of an anime girl. It's the other one.
It's the other one. I think there's like, I think there's an interpretation of the Mad Bird, that it is about 3 pictures of anime girls. The anime girls, of course, being the Mad Bird, the narrator, and the protagonist. But
right.
Anyway, yes, it's my fiction podcast. It is my little one-woman show. It's a little rough because it's very produced in my bedroom. That's not literally. I kind of have a home office, but I soundproof it with like blankets taped to the wall. And I'm also way too close to the microphone because it's just a close to the microphone kind of performance.
Yeah.
I'm not pitching it very well. I dearly love The Mad Bird. I think it's very good. Episodes keep getting delayed because I like it that much.
I mean, once again, love to make art. Also, making art really difficult.
Yeah. Anyway, The Mad Bird. What about it? I'm making it. It should all be out by the time this is out, but there'll be a chance to blah plug things. What about it?
I would love to get a pitch about both what it is and what made you decide, you know what, I want to do a podcast that is this thing.
Great. Great opportunity for me to stall, because this is an extremely fucking long story. You want to talk about trunked stuff? I did originally think, what if I pulled out, I don't even know where to find this anymore, but what if I pulled out my old scripts for the original Mad Bird podcast, which I fully wrote and recorded and produced one episode when I was 19.
Amazing.
That's how I, recorded and produced one episode, to be clear, I think while being paid a little bit, like an artist placement. What are those called? I haven't done one of them in a while.
Residency?
An artist residency? Yeah. An artist residency at the place where I already worked, but so, okay. Let's start with, being...
Let's start with being 19.
Let's start with being 19. Let's start with
Listeners,
turning
most
19.
of you have been 19. I'm sorry. It was
Let's
a hard
start with
time
being
for all
16.
of us.
Even worse.
Fuck.
16, very hard year for me.
Wouldn't recommend it.
Wouldn't recommend it. At some point, no, I think I was 17. It's hard to remember for reasons that will become apparent.
Time is fake.
It's time to add a new content warning. Ding! Hey, listeners at home, here's my retrospective bit that's already ruined for you. Skip the content warnings and then try and count all the content warnings and see if you can get all of them. See if you can get all 30. Oops, I spoiled it. I'm 16, and life isn't great, and so I attempt suicide, like you do when you're 16, and you're sort of like a silly young woman, and I end up in the hospital. My music teacher drives me to the hospital.
Woof.
She was very nice.
Shouts
I guess
to
I won't
her.
say her name because I really don't want to dox my high school, but mostly because it's a high school for fucking nerds. Everyone will make fun of me. But I go to the hospital. I go to the youth suicide ward.
Woof.
And it's like in many ways, it's like kind of a delightful experience.
Mm-hmm.
There I meet the person who I will eventually end up marrying, and then divorcing. We play a lot of Kirby together on the Switch that they have in the break room. Not the Switch,
Nice.
Jesus Christ, on the Wii.
Right.
The ye olden Switch.
Yep. Switch before it was a Switch.
Yeah. It's still got the waggly little stupid controllers, but...
I'm pretty sure the Wii is a top.
If you need to disinfect them, do not boil your Wiimotes. Unless you never want to use them again. If you're going to boil your Wiimotes for the purpose of disinfecting them, please, I'm begging
Just
you,
know that it will break
take out
it.
the batteries first. Please take out the batteries first. Then you can disinfect it all you want. And I'm happy for you. I hope you enjoy your trip down memory lane. Anyway, I'm 16. I'm in the psych ward. in many ways it's a really nice experience, and in many ways it's the worst thing ever. And I have this one, oh man, yeah, let's add some more content warnings. I have this one experience, I have a couple of experiences, one of them is being forcibly medicated. There's a lot of like awful group therapy, there's some weird drama in the place, but also mostly people are very nice. There was this one girl, whose name I don't remember, so I can't get back in contact with her, which is sort of sad, but she brought in this like massive magazine of wedding dresses, and we would just like hang out at lunch and look at wedding dresses, and it was really nice.
Shouts to you, wedding dresses girl.
There was shoutouts to you. There was a no touching rule, which of course meant that we were always trying to hold hands. Anyway, and then I had the experience of like a couple of experiences, one of which was wedding dress girl. She was having a rough time. She was just like standing outside the office screaming at them, and so they locked us all in our rooms while she did that. And then I also had the experience of someone else being like physically restrained and put in the physical restraintment room. Yay! And just, you know, screaming all night while we were locked in our rooms. Yay! Great. Anyway, one could imagine that this was a very impactful experience on me.
Press X to doubt.
Nah, it was fine. It was super normal. I mean, it's weird talking to people who haven't had this experience, you know? I've also had the experience of homelessness, and I get this a lot, in which I am just like, oh yeah, when I was homeless, blah, 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 blah. And people are like, oh. And I'm like, dude, it's fine. It's normal. Like, shut up. Fucking get over yourself.
What was the... Fuck, I think it was specifically the U.S. trans study that just finished, but it was like, I don't know, a third of us or something have experienced homelessness at some point in our lives. Like, if you know queer people, you're going to know people who have been homeless in the past. Like, don't be weird about it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think I just, yeah. Yeah. It's just such a, like, it becomes such a taboo topic because people want to treat it with the, especially kind of like academic-y types, who sort of like progressive academic-y types, they want to treat it with a lot of like gravitas and such, you know? But that ends up often, in my experience, feeling kind of disrespectful when I'm like talking and like laughing about my own life experiences. Like, for example, I used to buy bottles of Rev, which is a blue alcohol, like a blue fucking like soda alcohol, and also bottles of blue lemonade, and then pour the Rev into the blue lemonade so that I could sneak the bottles of Rev into bookstores,
Sure.
so that I could drink while I read D&D books, which is how I spent maybe 3 months of being homeless. And this
honestly sounds reasonable.
is really funny, I think. I think this is a great story, but people don't get it, and that's okay. Anyway, we're talking about the psych ward. Anyway, that was a very impactful experience, and I would end up there, I think, a couple more times. And then, I think the day that I turned 19, I think it was on my birthday, I've stopped being homeless at that point, for now, and I've moved out of, my parents' house, and I have a massive psychotic break, and it is very scary, but also, like, kind of magical. There are awful angels, there are, like, glass buildings I can see in the distance, There's screaming and claws. I, like, feel as though I have wings and people are grabbing at them and cutting them with their claws.
Ooh.
It's very bird-like. You may be putting some pieces together.
I might be.
And yeah, it's a whole thing. I usually don't talk about it that in much detail, but that's fine. You can leave it in. It was a long time ago. And I, then I'm trying to process this and come to terms with it. I'm trying to process it and come to terms with it without taking antipsychotics, because antipsychotics are very bad for you. They are very bad for your brain. They make things very hard. And I'm a very kind of, like, I don't know, I'm a weird, like, radical disability fucking sicko. I'm not anti-medication, but I am, like, would love to just have things be accessible such that taking medication can be an actual choice.
Right.
When it is often not. Whether that's because you're being literally forced into it, or because, you need you will not be accommodated to just, like, sometimes go lie down in the dark. Or more, you should be accommodated for more, and you aren't, and I am sorry about that. And then I read Michel Foucault's Madness and Civilization. Great book. I fucking hate Foucault. The thing that I say about Foucault is that he writes like an asshole. He writes like he hates the person reading the book that he is writing. It's awful. It's miserable. I can't imagine how miserable it is in the original French. I have to assume the translator carries over a lot of the awfulness. It's just, I hate reading Foucault, but Madness and Civilization, pivotal work. And so I start, and at this point I'm working in theater, and I'm like, I want to write some stuff, and so I start working on the first draft of The Mad Bird, which is just a story about madness and civilization. It's a story about a civilization in which there is a god of madness that is a literal god of madness, the Mad Bird, and mad people are like, this god is considered extremely dangerous, and so mad people are extremely policed, and sort of like exploring that. It's sort of like a series of short stories of people going mad, and then being escorted out into the wastes of the world to the Mad Bird. And then,
not at all political.
Not at all political. It's fine. And then I just kind of stop making it. I have some major life changes. I stop making it, roughly around the time I reconnect with the person who I met in the psych ward. And we start our relationship, which ends up being a very difficult marriage. And yeah, and so my whole plans that I was making and producing at 19 are kind of just left on the floor. And I think about it all the time. I feel like I'm talking too much. I mean, it's a podcast. I feel like this story isn't interesting.
I think it's extremely interesting, and I'm the only person whose opinion on this matters. So
great. Fuck the viewer. Death.
We love you, listeners.
Forget about death of the author, death of the reader. I don't care what's going on with you. Listen to a different podcast. Listen to my other podcast. Hear me ramble about something else. Hear me ramble about how supported boobs look. Anyway, so fast forward, like, basically, just a little bit longer than when the play that we just read is from. The most important person in my life has just died. My aunt, who I was living with, I was living with her and I was her PSW. And like, someone dying requires being in a lot of hospitals, you know, requires being in a lot of institutions. And I'm
fucking
having a lot of feelings about it. And so I'm also like a much better and more dedicated writer and artist. And so I go back to this idea, but I don't pick up the exact thing that I was working. I pick up what was supposed to be the third. It was supposed to have 3 different chapters, a little trilogy. And I pick up what was supposed to be the third chapter. And I'm like, I'm gonna redo the whole thing, and this is now the first chapter. And it's just like, it's just a podcast about, it's a podcast about grief. It's a podcast about being disabled and mad, and it's a podcast about being in institutions. And it's a podcast about being in institutions it's a podcast about grief through the perspective of the person who is dead, watching the person who is grieving you process in really unhealthy ways. And it's about being in institutions through absurdist metaphor, because that's the only way that you can talk about it. And so a lot of my experiences, and also some things that I have read, get translated into these weird metaphorical spaces that also almost operate like Zelda dungeons, in the way that you kind of have to, like, you have to break the treatment. You have to solve the sort of weird puzzle that keeps you trapped there.
Right.
But like, that experience of being trapped in my room and listening to people screaming from the restraint room. For people who don't know, it's not a padded cell. Common misconception. It's just like a room that has a table with straps on it. And they just like put you on the table. You either have like
terrible.
No ambulance, or you have full ambulance. They vary. They basically never give you any in between. They only do that in movies because it's very dramatic. But that turns into the space of the first episode, which is a science lab, in which there are people pinned to the walls like butterflies, screaming at you. My experiences of awful group therapy turn into a kind of like series of business meetings that you can never escape from, no matter how hard you try.
Oh, I've been in those.
Yeah. So on and so forth. And that's the Mad Bird. And it's, you know, it's about watching your lover stumble through these horrible places and also be kind of a fucking awful person. And it's interesting the ways in which it is not like this play, because it is much more serious and it is horror. This play is kind of horror and is kind of serious. But it's also funny, like, rereading this and being like, these two are actually kind of similar. They're about like extremely lesbian experiences, They're about angry butch women who don't know what to do with themselves, and they're about being like trapped in like shitty cycles of violence. And they're also about punching things. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if this answers your question. It talks for 15 minutes. I don't know if this answers your question. That's what's up with the Mad Bird. What about it?
Answered a question. It certainly answered the question of how many content warnings will there be in this episode by saying N+4.
There still might be more.
There still might be more. We haven't made it to 30 yet.
We haven't made it to 30 yet. Well, we'll see. It'll be a fun surprise.
Yeah.
Good luck editing, Hillary.
I will count them up when I'm doing the edit,
Good luck editing, Hillary. Love you editing, Hillary.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Well, you're just going to publish the raw audio, right? So it can't be that hard. You just have to count the content warnings. That's your only job.
That's my only job. And putting in the intro and outro music.
Yep.
That's it. There's nothing else goes into making a podcast.
No, fun fact. That's all. That's it. That's making a podcast. You count the content warnings and you put in the intro and outro music. Anyway, what's the question you were going to ask?
I was going to ask. I was going to ask a very important and serious question, and then I forgot what it was.
We were talking about the podcast.
We were talking about the podcast. We were talking about the play. And
how
the ways
they were similar and not similar.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, what went into making this play, and then, obviously, Cringe Fest, am I right, is kind of what went into it going into the trunk, but I'd love to get into that just a little bit more, because I think that that's a meaty question.
Interesting. I guess part of the question, in that this is a segue from me talking about the podcast, is the note that, like, this was intended to be like a somewhat more published piece. I mean, even at festivals, you're still basically self-publishing in a lot of ways.
Right.
But, and then my other thing is self-published. What went into this getting trunked? Is this question basically like, why have I never tried to do anything more with this?
Basically, yeah. Like, what are the reasons that it is sat in a corner for 5 years?
I think it's mostly because, I, haven't really... I don't interact with, publishers or producers very much. And, this play, a lot of my art that I've made has either been self-published, either on a slightly more professional level, or just, on AO3 or whatever. A lot of it has been, art for work. Again, I've done other playwriting. You will never read it. I'm not even sure it still exists, because it was just I just wrote a play that I didn't even write, because we came up with the play in rehearsal, and I was just the guy who wrote the plays down. For a limited run of workshops we were going to do, and that's it. And this play, Strapped, really just happened at sort of a perfect time of it was Fringe Festival. I had written the play. I had a director. We had kind of a producer, or at least someone who knew how to find us a producer, in my sister, who's a much more traditional, went to drama school, does grants and stuff kind of theater person.
Right.
And so that was really, it was really like of the moment, but it was interacting with a thing that I'm not super broadly familiar or comfortable with interacting with, like system-wise. And so once this sort of like golden confluence of things fell apart, it just kind of fell apart. And then also like the pandemic happened and all sorts of things.
Little thing.
Again, I would love the opportunity to untrunk this, to like, again, maybe work with a director to like rewrite it. Maybe this podcast will inspire me to do that. Maybe this podcast will inspire someone to reach out to me to do that. Feel free.
Please do.
Tell your friends about this like incredibly lesbian play. Maybe that's why I do think a lot about. I think like our application was a little slim because we didn't have actors. We just had like director, writer, producer, and we were like, we'll just audition. This is sort of normal, but you know, we'll just audition and we're self-funding, you know?
Right.
And this is pretty normal, but it is like kind of a dinky little play. It is like a little bit niche of a play. Like it doesn't, I don't know if straight people, a friend of, total segue, a friend of mine has recently introduced me to a meme from her personal life, you know, when this happens?
Yep.
In which, when they were a child on the Warrior Cats form, someone once said the phrase, "People, it would not be nice to see a homosexual couple." And this just stuck in his brain forever, and now this is stuck in my brain, and now it's stuck in your brain. It's so funny. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard. People, it would not be nice to see a homosexual couple. And you know, Fringe is not homophobic. They love to support marginalized artists or whatever the fuck, you know. Good for them, I guess. But it's like the play doesn't explain to you what a strap-on dildo is, and I'm not sure that straight people understand lesbian strap-on sex, in the sense of, like, why is Jack a character? It's not really to be funny. It's because Jack... I totally forgot until this moment that they are named Jack and Jill. I'm such a fucking idiot. That's why they didn't let it into Fringe, because I have a woman with her strap on, and they're named Jack and Jill. I'm a awful little guy. But Jack is... Jill is a stone butch, and Jack is a part of her in a way that is also not analogous, to, like, him being quite so literal a body part, like one might see. Again, all people are different. Some stone butches are like this. Some are not. And also, I'm about to say things about trans men. Not all trans men are like this. Shout out to trans men.
Shout out to trans
men listening to this. Hi, Ash. Ash is complicated. I'm sorry for simplifying your gender, Ash. Love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Tell your mom I said hi. But in the way that a lot of trans men have a strap-on that is like, this is a very clear extension of my body in a way that is very... and so to take that away would feel extremely criminal. But Jack exists in this nebulous and very dykey space with a lot of complex gender history, of, like, really being a part of Jill and being a part of her body under certain circumstances, while also being his own separate little guy. And it's complicated. And the play does not explain this. And to get us slightly back on topic, we can just talk about lesbian, like, gender identity and sexual theory all day. We could just do this.
Yeah.
We could just start a new podcast where we do this.
Tales from the Closet.
God fucking damn it.
Look, you set me up for that one.
I did.
Anyway,
sorry,
I
took a moment to think about my own strap-on dildo that I have this specific relationship with, which is named Pinkie Pie for reasons I don't want to talk about. It's, she's been good to me. Anyway, I think, to get slightly back on topic before you say your thing, this also makes this play a little bit difficult to pitch, you know? It, aside from the fact that it has, literally a description of non-consensual sex. Again, to call it sexual assault is very complicated. But, it's a lot about really niche, lesbian gender and relationship stuff, and also it has this, and this makes me very hesitant. Every time I think about it, I'm like, who do I pitch this to? Who do I pitch this to? Where do I even... I think it would be great. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you speak.
I was just going to say, I linked you this Tumblr post in our DMs a couple of days ago, and it very much is relevant here. Links, as always, in the show notes. Listeners, thank you, lesbians that make strange and unmarketable art.
Yeah... I think it's marketable. Like, I think it's funny. I think a straight person could find this funny.
I think a straight person... I saw a TikTok yesterday. This will make sense in a second. I saw a TikTok yesterday where somebody was talking about how queer people and straight people experience the Matrix differently. And that if a queer person says that one of their favorite movies is The Matrix, you're like, okay, yes, I get that. I'm with you. We are besties now. And if a straight person says that, you hesitate for a moment because they could understand the allegory and, like, understand it as a piece of art. Or they could be the kind of person who talks about taking the red pill unironically.
I think that you're allowed to like The Matrix just because it has banging action.
That is true.
I think this is allowed. I rarely do this. I'll give some allowances for some straight people here. The Matrix is also just a fun watch.
It is a fun watch. It is a genuinely fun watch. But it is a thing where I'm, like this play, I don't know, I'm not straight, I don't understand straight people entirely. I can imagine a straight person liking this play. I do not think a straight person would understand it in the same way even as a cis twink would. Like,
Shout out to
I
Twinks,
feel like,
by the way.
Shout out to Twinks.
Shout out to Twinks. If it's not clear, John is supposed to be a very particular brand of twink.
Yeah.
Twink's near and dear to my heart. I mean, the whole dynamic between John and Jill is based on one of my best friends, who I've known since I was 16, who came and brought me oranges while I was in the psych ward, and then the psych ward people were like, you're not allowed to bring food in, and so he couldn't bring me this basket of oranges.
Anti-shout-outs to them, but shout-outs to your twink friend.
Is he a twink? Let's not get into this. Anyway, but this is...
Shout-outs
we
to
often
your
describe
friend.
ourselves as having, like, the archetypical dyke-fag friendship. And that's definitely what this play is fundamentally supposed to be about. Another way in which this is about queer gender in a way that I'm not sure if it reads to straight people, but that's fine. John and Jill are just funny.
Yeah, John and Jill are great.
Yeah, shoutouts. Shoutouts to my characters in this play.
Listen, that's what this show is. Shouts to your art.
Shoutouts to art.
Hell
It's okay
yeah.
sometimes. Yeah. I don't think this play is unmarketable. I just don't really have quite, especially at this phase after a bunch of things collapsed post-COVID, weird thing to say, and also post-marriage, a bunch of social things collapsed. I just don't have the reason why this doesn't... I just don't know... I just don't know what to do with it. I can find out. Maybe I should. Maybe this will drive me to find out what to do with it.
Yeah.
But, like... And I think another part of it is, like... Again, I love collaborative art. I don't want to direct this play. I don't want to produce this play. I kind of know how to direct. I definitely don't know how to produce. But I really want to do this play as an intentional piece of collaborative art with at least a director or a producer up front. The police are coming for me. For being too much of a fag. Well, it had to happen eventually.
You've got a supply of bricks to throw at them.
And so, yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. Listeners, if you know what to do with it, let me know. Don't steal it. Just because we read out the whole thing doesn't mean you can steal it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's basically your answer. I did plan to have this be published, and produced, but
and
it was such a moment, and then the moment was over, and I was like, well, now at least I have a play to send to people when I want them to understand how kind of messed up I am. And then they can be like, wow, this play is pretty good. And I can be like, great, I'm glad you like it.
So I don't know if it came through over the Zoom connection. This weird sound just happened, and this blue police box appeared in the room, the podcast room. You are rolling your eyes so hard right now. I am living for it. I'm wondering if we can step into this time machine and offer young Ivy, and by extension, possibly some of our listeners, some words of wisdom right now about making art with other people, perhaps.
Sorry, this is difficult for me.
No worries.
Sorry, I'm gonna take a second to get out of my head. I just had a falling out with like one of my biggest art collaborators. So,
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. you know, this is a shitty situation. It's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess kind of on that note, I would just say, if you find someone who you like, and you're a person who makes art, and they're a person who makes art, you should make art with them.
Hell yeah.
You should just sit down and be like, what if we did a thing? What if we, like, actually did a thing? And then just kind of do it, you know? Start small. Start with, like, writing a thing together. Start with, like, making a single illustrated story. Depending on, et cetera, et cetera. Recently, so the origin story of my, my Gotcha Women podcast.
Yeah, I was just about to ask for any more details about that for our dear listeners.
Yeah, well, we can get more into it. Man, we didn't even talk about furries. We can still go on time.
Just
trips,
yet.
That's fine. Not yet. The way that podcast started was that me and Ash were live commentating a Splatoon 3 competitive Splatoon 3 themed competitive Mahjong tournament. The Splatoon themed Mahjong tournament. This is a thing that I do.
Amazing.
And me and Ash were organizing the tournament, and we were commentating. It was the first time we had ever spoken to each other over voice. And we had 20 minutes to kill before the game started because one of our players was late. And so we were just, like, fucking around in the Mahjong Soul client, the Mahjong Gacha game that we play, and looking at character designs and talking about them. And then the game started, and I think halfway through the halfway through the first match, so we had to sit on this throughout the whole, commentating the whole match. Halfway through the first match, I was like, hey, Ash, what if we did a podcast together in which we did art analysis of Gotcha Women? We're clearly good at this. And Ash was like, maybe. And I'm like, okay, listen, when this Mahjong match is over, you can link this in the show notes. It's up where people can find this. When this Mahjong match is over, let's do a test run of this podcast live on this Splatoon 3 Twitch channel. And then we did. The game ended. It was an exciting game to memory. And then we just hung around for another hour and looked at pictures of anime women and did art analysis on them. And then we were like, hang on, this really works. And now we have a podcast that I'm recording in 2 days. It's a very podcast heavy week for me, let me tell you. And this is just do things with people you like. You know, just do it. You can start small. You can start with, like, a little 2-person tabletop RPG. You can start with just, like, doodling on a piece of paper together. All of these little things. But just kind of do it. This is not actually advice that I would give younger me. The advice that I would give to the younger me that just wrote this play is which is sort of like don't stop making art. Again, when the pandemic hit and I was trapped as a, like, lonely, scared, disabled, alcoholic housewife, shout out to Butch Housewives, I think at some point I started writing fan fiction, and that was great. But I wish that I had just, like, kept writing plays, you know? I wish that I had kind of just kept doing it, you know, if only to cope, if not to practice, you know? And maybe to make something good.
And maybe to make something good.
Maybe to make something good. Those are my 2 separate pieces of advice.
they sound like great advice to me. I had a thought and then it departed. I'll get back to it in just a second. Or maybe I won't. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Was it about collaborative art and then I threw you off because I was talking about a different thing?
Oh, it probably was about collaborative art. It was probably about how working with other people, finding a sicko who is the same or is an intersecting type of sicko as you and making art with them is a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you really... I mean, it kind of comes back to the tagline of the show, don't self-reject. You do not know what you are going to be able to do or what you're going to produce until you actually do it. Because things have a way of making themselves into new and different and interesting shapes. And you might think that you're just commentating a Splatoon-themed Mahjong game tournament on Twitch. Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, you are now hosting a podcast about gacha women from this Mahjong game.
Mm-hmm. That's me at the club when I steal your girl. Gacha woman.
You do not know. Like, it's... I think about this... thinking about art that we have made to talk about grief and loss and loneliness and, you know, other fun things of that nature. And this is something I've talked about on the podcast before. There is a story that I wrote a decade ago now, probably, an actual literal decade ago, where I was trying to figure out some feelings about the death of my mother, which happened when I was 17, and that sucked. And I started trying to write a science fiction story about it, and it had some interesting ideas in it, and it was also something that I wrote when I was like 26 or maybe 27, and did not have the did not stand behind my art in a way that I've learned to do since then. And then no, it's 2024, 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. This isn't a story, this is a journaling game. And so I turned it into a journaling game. And that's the story. Is I didn't know that I was writing a journaling game when I first wrote that science fiction story literally a decade ago, but that's what it turned into, and it's something that I'm genuinely proud of.
Hell yeah. I think standing behind your art is good. Nowadays I just say I'm a good writer, and it's fine. And it's a little bit funny. It's a little bit funny to just say, I'm a good writer. I'm good at writing. I know how to write. I knew how to write like 5 years ago. This play is okay. It'll be better. You know, again, if you're a director or a producer and you want to like work on some rewrites and maybe make this into a small budget operation, give me a call. But, you know, I can write. It's fine. And I'm sure that you can write also. Don't worry about repeating phrases too much. Repeating phrases can be very powerful. But they teach you it's bad in like 11th grade English. So
yeah, but I have a lot of feelings about the general pedagogy of how English is taught in... I only have feelings about American schools. I can't speak to anywhere else in the English-speaking world. I have some feelings about it and how it makes people really dislike reading things and makes people really dislike writing things because the only things that you're ever made to write are 5-paragraph essays, which you can write a very good, powerful 5-paragraph essay. And also, I think that is... I think that it is bad. I think it is bad and wrong, and people who are forcing teachers to do that and forcing teachers to make kids hate literature are bad and wrong. Very firm stance here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not great. And, like, the thing is there could be so many more sickos in this world if not for the way schooling happens a lot. Like, I'm just thinking about the sort of people who got through high school English classes and still liked anything about reading things deeply. And, like, those are mostly sickos.
Uh-huh.
I think we can agree that most people who, despite all of that, stuck with it and enjoy doing those things are sickos. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
But imagine how many more sickos there would be if things were taught in a way that was more betterer. And think of how much better the world would be if there were twice as many sickos in it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the point. I made the point of the podcast now. There should be more sickos.
Clap, 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 clap.
More sickos, more furries, more weird everybody. More fags.
More fags.
Hell, more trannies. There, I did it. I said it. I found a way. So before we sort of wrap things up here on this truly 5-star runtime of a podcast, I would love for you to tell our listeners about something that has made you go sickoshaha.yes.jpg recently.
Okay.
That you really want other people to be sickoshaha.yes.jpg about.
Oh, like media.
Like media. Anything in the
Okay.
wider media in the wider media landscape.
Sorry, yeah, normally you ask it like that way. And so I was waiting for I was sitting and I was waiting for it.
I went off script.
And I was like, I thought you were leading into talking about this. Anyway, it's fine. Man, what have I been interacting with? I have been in a weird depressive spiral. And so I have not been, doing a lot of interacting with good media, because I find that
That's
very
valid.
kind of difficult.
What about Chain
While I'm
Bastard?
having a hard time. So I'll pitch, one thing I've been watching avidly recently, is, oh wait, I do have one good piece of media. I have a bunch of stuff that I just like that I'll just generally rec, that if you like the stuff that I talk about, you'll probably like, but, stuff that I've actually been interacting with lately, I've been watching Metallic Rouge, the anime. Is it good? I don't think so, but it's sort of fascinating. I really love to watch kind of middling art, and be like, what's going on here? Just get my own sort of private little writing lesson just from sort of like picking something apart and being like, how is this undermining itself? And how is it sometimes doing things really well? And Metallic Rouge is great at that. It has some genuinely fantastic, ideas and shots, and like the way that some scenes are directed is beautiful. I really genuinely like the chemistry between the two leads, at least for a while. Then it's weird. It's a weird show. I don't know if I recommend it, but if this sounds interesting to you, I recommend it. At times I've said, like, I've looked at the show and been like, this is garbage. And at times I've looked at it and been like, this does Blade Runner better than Blade Runner, which is fucked up. Weird show. I also just yesterday, here's something good. I mean, I've also been watching Dungeon Meshi, but everyone is. I don't need to pitch you on Dungeon Meshi. It's Dungeon Meshi.
Yeah.
If you know what anime is, you're probably watching it. You're probably like, it's good. And I'm like, I know, it's Dungeon Meshi.
I haven't actually started watching Dungeon Meshi yet, weirdly enough.
It's good.
Just been watching Hunter x Hunter.
Also good. I was drafting, or I was making sort of initial notes for something I will be writing in several months, because that's how making serialized art works. It sucks. And my short notes for one of the characters in this particular story is ethical lesbian Hisoka ?
Oh my god!
You know, we'll see. Ethical lesbian Hisoka. Sorry, ethical lesbian furry Hisoka. My bad.
Okay. Even better.
We'll soon be selling that on a shirt at the Tales from the Trunk store.
Please, yes.
Anyway, Hunter x Hunter's good. Right, this morning I just completed my first ending of Slay the Princess, which, to spoil the somewhat obvious themes of the game, don't want to spoil very much of it, but it is a piece of art that is about two people in a relationship that is, well, I have only gotten one ending, but broadly it's about two people in a relationship that is not abusive, but the two people have been abused, and or are being abused, depending on how you want to interpret. Yeah, let's not say too much. But I think every single piece of art that I ever make is about a loving relationship between two people who have been abused. And so Slay the Princess was like, damn, this is great.
Nice.
It really hit me. If you don't like video games, don't be turned off by the fact that it's a video game. It's a book. If you don't like books, don't be turned off by the fact that it's a book. It's a video game. Genuinely play Slay the Princess. It's so, like, it's just like, I might immediately after this go run more of it and find more bits of it. It's so crushingly amazing. Jesus Christ. Anyway, here's some, not joke, but just some funny little things that these are jokes to people who know me, because one of the jokes of me is that I always recommend these things. If you love things where gay people get abused, You should really watch Revolutionary Girl Utena. It's a classic. Yep. This might be a thing that I am engaging with by the time that this goes up, because I'm constantly like, damn, I should do a rewatch of Utena. I think this like maybe once a week.
Hey folks, post-recording Ash here. It turns out that a couple weeks after we recorded this podcast, my friend Pandora actually asked me if I would record a Utena rewatch podcast with her, and so that's a thing that exists now. It is called Together We'll Shine, an Utena rewatch podcast. I think episode 0 comes out a couple days before the episode you're listening to right now, and episode 1 should be coming out the day that this episode you're listening to right now comes out. And so the link will be in the show notes, and you can presumably find it on your podcast app of choice. I'm not doing the production, so I'm not quite sure, but the link will be in the show notes. We're watching Utena. We're doing some fun stuff. Also, we're having watch-along episodes for the sort of arc season finales, and touching on some of the external Utena media, like the movie and the visual novel. So, if you like podcasts, or Utena, or podcasts, or lesbians, you should check it out. Okay, back to you, Hillary.
I recommend the book, Sarah Schulman's book, Conflict is Not Abuse. It's a classic.
We were just fucking talking about this on Discord the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very heavy series of essays, but very good. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Maybe soon I'll do my kind of like regular I'm going through a rough time vis-a-vis things are difficult with people I care about. It's time to rewatch Utena while reading Conflict is Not Abuse. Just to sort of get it through my system.
Yeah, sure.
Oh god, Utena. Now I'm just thinking about Utena, and I'm also stalling for time. Isn't it amazing that like Utena, the best episode in Utena, and because Utena is one of the best things to ever exist, one of the best episodes of a thing to exist, is a recap episode. Mm-hmm. And it's also a recap episode that triggers me so badly that it makes me want to throw up consistently, even though I've seen it 5 times. You know the one I'm talking about, right?
I do!
Where the thing happens. But it's a recap episode.
I know.
Anyway, great show.
It's a good show.
Better
You
than
should watch
Metallic
it.
Rouge.
You should also maybe watch that, but...
What else? Music. I've been listening to, a lot of furry garbage. But I'm gonna make a very genuine and serious recommendation, which is...
Is it Void Reckon?
No, you seem to really like Void Reckon.
Void Reckon fucking slaps.
Void Reckon slaps. We can
what
wreck
it was, but it was great.
If you want an album that's about institutionalization and abuse and like, dealing with the fallout of that, you can listen to Patricia Taxon's Tech Dog 1 through 7. You're gonna look at it and you're gonna be like, it's 12 hours long, that's too much. And I'm gonna say, it's okay, you can make it through it, but I should warn you that it's actually 24 hours long, because when you listen through it once, you really need to go back and listen through it again so that you can pick up all the motifs that are scattered throughout the 12 hours. You know? It will often, like, plant a motif and then pay it off literally 5 hours later. Great piece of art. But the actual album, but the thing that I actually was going to wreck was, this came out very recently, and it's very good. Was I Want to Love Again by Doe Friends, DoeFriends. Doe Friends. It's this queer punk furry, but don't let that chase you off. album that has just incredible sound design and some really fun and good and meaningful lyrics. And it's just... oh, it's just so good. I cannot stop listening to Doe Friends I Want to Love Again. It's like such an incredible album.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. It's so fucking good. Anyway, I have a copy of Watership Down sitting on my table, but I haven't read it yet. But my friend lent it to me. But yeah, I don't know. Slay the Princess, Doe Friends I Want to Live Again, I Want to Love Again. These are my big sort of like, these are somewhat recent pieces of art that I'm experiencing recently that I'm like, oh, God. Boof.
Go experience those art.
Ugh. Oof. Anyway.
Finally, before we go, if our listeners want more of you being a sicko, where else can our listeners find you?
Well, if you really liked this play and you want to contact me about getting it produced, which I don't know how to do because I'm a stupid little indie stupid, you can reach me at ivyfoxart@gmail.com. You can also find me at ivyfoxart on co-host, where I basically never post.
Mood.
Sorry. You can also find me and support me if you want. I think by this point, I'm gonna have started doing writing commissions, maybe on there. You can find me at ivyfoxart on Ko-Fi. You can follow the podcast, and you can follow my podcast at my podcast I do with Ash. My all my fiction podcast stuff ends up hopefully mostly on my co-host and my Ko-Fi. But you can follow you can follow Soulmates at soul-mates-podcast on co-host.
And find it wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Find it wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And also the Mad Bird.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Are we now into where can people find your stuff?
Yes. Where can our listeners find your stuff? Because they should find your stuff. It's good stuff.
You can find my horror fiction podcast, The Mad Bird, wherever you get your podcasts. Mostly some podcatchers are stupid.
True.
Or in just The Mad Bird on Libsyn. You can find my sort of casual hangout and chat about anime women art podcast at Soulmates ! Wherever you get your podcast.
And wherever you get your podcast, do remember that leaving a 5-star rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts is still the best way to support basically any podcast.
That's me.
Listeners, you have your marching orders now.
Yeah. I think the first season of The Mad Bird should be done by the time this is out. For a last pitch, it's only going to be the length of a movie. I'm planning on, when it's all done, I'm planning on just putting it all on and listening to it while I walk through the park and look at the birds.
Hell yeah. Consume your own art.
Consume your own art. There will hopefully be a season 2 also at some point. We'll see.
Fabulous.
Oh, wait, one more thing I wanted to pitch.
Please.
Sorry. This podcast is on basically indefinite hiatus because my co-host started writing a thesis.
Oh, those happen.
Go get bent, Frankie. But I used to host a podcast that is about fan fiction that followed a very similar sort of structure to this podcast, in which we would like talk about a genre of fan fiction for the first bit, and then one of us would write a fan fiction in that genre, and we would read an excerpt, and then we would talk about what it's like to write that genre of fan fiction. That podcast is called Dr. Fan Fiction's Monster.
Amazing.
If that sounds interesting, you can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Fabulous. Well, Ivy, thank you so much for joining us and for making this absolutely the most 5-star runtime this podcast has ever yet managed.
We only went for like 2:16.
Yeah, I know, but like you said before, most of these episodes only run for an hour and a half tops.
We can keep going. I don't have anything to do.
Listeners, join us again next month for part 2 of this, and then the following month for part 3 of this. It's basically just going to be me and Ivy for the rest of the show indefinitely.
Have fun. Glad to be here. No, I got too many podcasts to make. Too many of them. Well, we can make a different podcast.
We can make a different podcast. We could. Listeners, stick around to find out if we make a different podcast. We're gonna make a podcast about the art aesthetics in the what's the fucking card game in Splatoon 3?
Table turf battle.
Table turf. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the art in table turf.
Fascinating.
That's definitely what we're gonna do.
Stay tuned for our Utna Rewatch podcast.
Hell yeah. Queer Media Club. Wait, no. Media Club Plus is already pretty goddamn queer. Queerer Media Club Plus? Media Club divided by 2?
You're doing great, sweetheart.
Thank you, listeners. Here's the outro.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Hillary. Bye.
Tales from the Trunk is mixed and produced in beautiful Oakland, California. Our theme music is Paper Wings by Lillian Boyd. You can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/trunkcast. All patrons of the show now get a sticker and logo button, along with show outtakes and other content that can't be found anywhere else. You can find the show on Blue Sky at Trunkcast, and I post at HBBisnieks. If you like the show, consider taking a moment to rate and review us on your preferred podcast platform, especially Apple Podcasts. And remember, don't self-reject.